Hello. I want to discuss briefly here the codec settings in Eclipse and where they are found, and discuss a few things about them that some of you may not be aware of or may not have thought about. In your Eclipse setup, I go to Alt-U, go to Real Time, and then I go to Compression. I'm going to just choose this microphone for right now because what I'm trying to get to is this compression setting, and since I plugged in my headset to be able to do this video, that's why I had a drop down of two choices. Normally I don't have that option when I press the compression because I've got something else plugged in. But once you get here, this is where you have the ability to choose your codec. I'm in version 6, and version 5 and probably version 4 are going to be very similar to this screen and how you get there. But you can see here I've got format chosen is Speaks, and right now this is what I currently use, the 24.6 kilobit per second, 8.0 kilohertz mono Q10, 3 kilobytes a second. Now if I click that drop down window, you can see I have several options to choose from. We have found that this one is the best one for the most part for the Eclipse setting, and I believe Keith Vincent discovered this initially, and it works good. And the 3 kilobytes a second, I will discuss that here in a second. Now if I were to go over here and perhaps look at, say, GSM 610, I could look here and see that I've got options again of 1, 2, 4, and 8 kilobytes a second, and I have also used the 4 kilobyte per second setting many times on many laptops. Toshiba, Dell, Acer, Mac, you name it, it's worked, and the Speaks option has worked on those same laptops successfully for every laptop I've ever had. Now let's go over here to PCM and look at this section. I used to use this setting here for a lot of my jobs before I was experimenting with the codec, but I know some of you like to use something in this range, like a 23 kilobyte per second, or maybe a 46, some of these higher numbers, and what I want to suggest is that you try to go down to a lower kilobyte per second and see if your audio is that much different, because if the audio sounds okay at 7 kilobytes a second versus, say, even 21 kilobytes a second, as I'm highlighting here, what's happening is if you were to record a file at 7 kilobytes a second and do the same file at 21 kilobytes a second, this file here will be 3 times larger than the one that you recorded at 7 kilobytes a second. Now if you were to use a Speaks recording at 3 kilobytes a second, 3 kilobytes a second divided by 21 kilobytes a second means that if you recorded this file using this one versus Speaks, your file would be 7 times larger than the Speaks file, your audio file. Now I know that a lot of you are using Scopus and you wonder why it may take so long to move a WAV file around. Well, that's your answer. 21 kilobytes a second versus 3 kilobytes a second makes an audio file 7 times the size. So that's why I'm suggesting you might want to do some experimenting with the options to see what works best for you, and see if you really need to have the kilobytes per second be so high, because I think you'll find that if you go down to 3 or 4 kilobytes a second, your audio file will be much more manageable. It won't be taking up so much space on your hard drive, and it will actually sound about the same. And besides, if you can't hear something, don't you ask to speak up or repeat anyway? I do. So while I have a good recording, that still doesn't negate the fact that recordings aren't perfect, and I still go ahead and jump in there and have them repeat something if I can't hear it, especially when I'm coughing like I am today. So I hope that helps explain a little bit about the compression settings under Eclipse, and it gives you some better idea of some things to think about when you're choosing what codec you want to use. Thank you.